Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today in the Ask SSM video series, I got an email from a young subscriber. I'm guessing he's probably very late teens or probably early 20s. And he's writing in asking my help about a situation he has with his younger cousin. His younger cousin is a senior in high school. I believe he's 17 and minor. A long story short, his younger cousin has been chatting for a while to a woman who's overseas and has been sending her lots and lots of money. Somehow she's been able to con him into thinking that obviously she's into him and all that, needs help. And he's been borrowing money from family members, selling his belongings like his PlayStation and all that to raise money to send her money. And this guy obviously writing in knows this is all bullshit and a scam, even if it is a woman who's writing this in. And he wants to help out his younger cousin. And he wants to know my advice on how to handle the situation and all that. And that'll be a good one here to cover, guys, because on the subject of there are people that obviously out there that will scam you into money, and or there are a lot of gals that will that are real, like you can see them, that will act interested and to get these guys that are clueless to give them money, and how you got to be careful about that and all that. And also how when you have a brother in need, yes, you try to help them, but if they are unwilling to listen to your advice, we have to say, then there are some cases where you have to just pretty much say, hey, I tried, and let them crash and burn and learn the hard way. Okay, because some people just have to learn that way. So I'm going to go through a story here, and there's many times you're going to slap this kid, but it needs to be said, and then I will share my opinion on the subject. He says here, hey SSM, I'm in need of your help. My cousin is going broke by sending all his money to a girl that he's never met in person. Smack! Before I continue, I just want to thank you for the good work that you're doing. Before I found your channel, I was already R-pilled due to watching my parents' marriage fail along with my own experiences. Even with all that knowledge, your channel still teaches me new things which will be useful as I'm still young. Bro, I appreciate you watching, and I'm glad I could help you out. And I bet you learned a lot by watching your parents divorce. In my opinion, I think this is one of the components of why less and less people are getting married nowadays, or waiting longer, or more and more guys aren't interested. Because as the divorce rate has gone higher, more young guys that saw this are like, I'm not going through that shit. Or maybe it didn't happen to their mom and dad, but maybe to an uncle or cousin or somebody. So anyway, before I talk about the girl my cousin is sending money to, I have to give you some information about my cousin and his upbringing so you can better understand his situation. He is a teenager in high school and will graduate next year. His parents split when he was young, and his father moved back to his home country shortly after that. His parents split due to his father having a drinking problem along with other issues. His father displayed many red flags, and yet his mother still chose to marry and have kids with him, but knowing what I know now about female nature, I'm not surprised. Yeah, the mother, even though he was obviously an alcoholic and had all these other problems and all that, still, for whatever reason, had that attraction to the damaged guy. And no surprise, that damaged guy isn't exactly marriage material, husband material, father material, and of course, look what happened. My cousin barely saw his father after the split. He just had to travel to see him. Unfortunately, his father eventually passed away due to his drinking problem. Because of this, he basically lacked a father figure for a big portion of his life. This is a big problem for a lot of the guys out there on multiple fronts. Why a lot of young guys nowadays, either because the father isn't in the picture because maybe he died or abandoned them, or because mom and dad got divorced, mom got sole custody of the kids, or the majority of the custody of the kids because that's how the courts usually want it to be. They're raised by a mom without a masculine male influence, and the guys typically are raised by that mom to be perfect little gentlemen. They treat women with respect, amongst many other things, and they behave this way towards the women. Or also a lot of the young guys have no direction or ambition in life because they didn't have a man giving them a kick in the ass to go get a freaking part-time job when they turn 16, or go get a license when they turn 16 to start to have responsibilities, because the mom, mom's usually easier on boys and all that. And let me make it clear, there are a lot of single moms out there that do their darndest to take care of their boys, to love them, to care for them and nurture them and all that. And they mean well, but they can't do everything. Okay, the boy needs a masculine role model to guide him in this world. And without that, you have a lot of what we have today. Just want to mention that, because so it isn't just blue pill type of guys. I'm talking about just young guys that just have no ambition, no direction left because they didn't have a father giving them a kick in the ass and showing them how to be a man. And right here. His mom eventually found a new man who became a stepdad and has tried to be his father figure ever since. However, I'm sure my cousin doesn't take his stepdad too seriously, as he's obviously not his real dad. So now that you know now he lacked a father figure for a big portion of his life, I'm sure you can already tell that this plays a huge role as to why he's in the mess that he's currently in. Makes a lot of sense to me, man. Not only that, but one of my friends has a sister who was in the same class as my cousin, and she said that he was the quiet kid who sat in the back of class. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with a quiet kid in the back of class. I mean, he could just be doing his own thing and not really fit in. But in this situation, obviously, there's more to this. I've also never seen him or ever heard of him having a girlfriend or anything similar to that. With all that information, it's safe to assume that he gets zero attention from girls in his school, which I'm sure plays a huge role in this. Yeah, you got a young guy who obviously is attracted to girls, wants some attention, but is not getting it. If he starts getting attention from some stranger claiming to be a pretty woman online, whether that is factual or not, a young guy is going to do some stupid-ass things. He says the girl he is talking to is actually a grown woman in her mid to late 20s, or it could be a scammer pretending to be one. I have no idea how he met this woman online or what she told him to get him so attached, but he has been sending her significant amounts of money. Smack. Bonehead. But you can see how this could happen. No female attention. He's not raised to act like a man. Nobody tell him these types of things, and there you go. And here's the question. How did he start talking to her? Well, she probably messaged him. If Facebook, Instagram, this is usually how it works. This is what I've heard, that these women will message guys out of the blue, and they'll start talking to them, and they can find out real quick if the guy's lonely and all that. And if they don't ask for money outright, they'll say and do things and talk about their dire situation or whatever. And these young guys that want to be the girl's hero because the girl's been love bombing him, or the person claiming to be a girl is love bombing him with messages and texts and pictures and all that. Meanwhile, this same person claiming to be a woman who's a scammer could be talking to 30 different guys around the world, getting them to give them money, and they make a living off this. It's very big in the Philippines. She lives outside the U.S. and it's gotten so bad that he is now asking our family members if he can borrow money. I know that he owes one of my cousins $300. He has even asked me for money at some point. This is before I knew why he needed it, so I gave him some money and told him he didn't need to pay me back. Smack. Don't ever loan anybody money without an agreement, preferably a written one. They're going to pay you back. And now that you know what it's for, you bet your ass he needs to pay you back. Right now, there's no real consequences to his actions, but he needs consequences because he's being a fucking idiot. And I don't care if he's a minor, 16, 17, he needs to hear it. Because he obviously hasn't had a man in his life to give him a verbal kick in the ass. And now I'm doing it. Get that money back. And if not, then he needs to sell something to get your money back. I was furious when I found out that my money was being used to fund some dumb bitch's lifestyle. That's exactly what it was for. He even sold his PlayStation 5 so he can send her more money. I'm sure you're not a gamer since you're a busy guy, but PlayStation 5s were almost impossible to get. Well, you know, I'm not a gamer, but I found out about a few months ago through a video I did about that actually dealt with PlayStation 5s. Some wacko girl destroyed her boyfriend's PlayStation. That PlayStation 5s were extremely hard to get. They only had a very limited release. So, little supply, high demand, high priced. Sold his PlayStation 5 to send this chick. He never even met money. They would sell it instantly, so my cousin obviously had to work very hard to obtain one. I remember him being so happy that he managed to buy one, so it's crazy to me that he ever sold one to give some money to some girl he's never met. Well, he's not the first guy in history to do something stupid as all hell to get some attention from a girl. Now, he's a bonehead, but he's young, so I know I'm being tough here, but give him a little bit of a pass because he is very young. He's 16 or 17 years old. Meanwhile, this individual who's writing him, who I doubt is even a girl, and if it is, obviously probably older and all that, like you said, she's the villain here. The individual that's writing and manipulating him and taking his money is the villain here, and a criminal, might add, because he's a minor, and I'll come back to that later. But still, Your young cousin here needs a good slap upside the head and a dose of reality. Some of my friends... Oh, hang on. I missed a part here. He is so deluded that he even believes that she'll travel to the United States in the future to come see him. I think that's what they all say. It's obvious he has never gotten any attention from girls because no self-respecting guy would go broke just to get a girl's attention. Correct. That's it. If he had a lot of girls in high school that liked him, or even just a couple, and had a girlfriend in high school, which like a lot of guys have, and finally at 16, 17 years old, lost his virginity, he's getting some, he wouldn't be doing this. Only a desperate guy would do this. Some of my friends have tried to get him to come to his senses, but he won't listen and gets mad. Aha, so they've been trying to help him, and he's defensive. Now I'm starting to feel less sorry for him. I didn't feel sorry for him, but I was giving him a little bit of a pass because of his age. His stepdad has even tried to talk to him, but he still won't listen. So his stepdad is aware of what he's doing? You gotta be shitting me. If that was my kid, A, if I don't have kids, but B, if I did, and C, my kid wouldn't do this, but if he did, oh my God. The situation angers me because not only is this woman taking advantage of a desperate and vulnerable person, but she's also taking advantage of a minor. Correct. Still, my cousin has to take some accountability because he's obviously old enough to know better. Yes, he does need to take accountability. Even my 12-year-old self would have known that it's stupid for doing this. I haven't talked to him about this yet. Since I can be very rough when giving advice, I'm sure he's too embarrassed to talk about it with me, since I would definitely roast him for it. I remember sitting next to him during a family gathering once, and I saw him pick up his phone, and I saw a girl as his wallpaper. I jokingly asked if that was his girlfriend, and he looked nervous and refused to answer any of my questions. Looking back, that was definitely a picture of this woman that he is sending money to. What's funny about this is that he's a huge Andrew Tate fan and watches all of his content, so you'd think he would use his advice not to get played. Yeah, that's interesting. I will never look at him the same when he calls himself Top G. He's doing this and he's calling himself the Top G. More like Top D for dumbass. My first instinct is to bully him out of it since getting bullied by my friends has prevented me from doing stupid things, but that might not work with him as not everyone reacts the same way as I do. How would you go about this? What would you tell him if you were me? I watched your videos for entertainment, but I never thought I'd end up asking you for help. I know this probably isn't interesting enough to make a video out of it, but thanks for reading this. Well, it turns out it isn't interesting to make a video because, you know what? There's a lot of guys that can be susceptible to things like this. So what I think you need to do is sit down and talk to him. And since your gut is telling you making fun of him and getting him shit isn't going to work, then don't go down that route. I'd pull him aside in private so that nobody else is listening. He feels embarrassed and say, bro, here's the deal. I'm aware of what's going on. You're making a big mistake. You're being scammed here. Try to talk to him. Try that approach first. Being more reasonable and listening. Because I'm willing to bet you with the lack of the male role model and no attention from girls, this is what's going on. And make it abundantly clear. This is bullshit. She's scamming you. She probably, if it's a woman, is talking to multiple guys just like you trying to get money out of it. And you can't believe this shit for a second. This happens all the time. And if you want to do a little research, Googling about guys being propositioned for money from people claiming to be women overseas, let him see that. And then he needs to cut her off, end of story. And if he's unwilling to listen, and he starts being a jackass, then unleash hell. Then you can bully him and give him shit all you want. But try the nicer approach first. That doesn't work, then let him have it. And I'd also talk to his fucking stepfather and his mother and say, look, this is what's going on. They're doing this to a minor. He's a minor. You need to get the police involved. Talk to the local police and find out what they can do through various channels to at least have that person blocked on social media from contacting him. That doesn't mean that individual won't just find another way to talk to him, but you get my point. But since he's a minor, I'm sure something can be done along those lines. But at the end of the day, like I said, that person probably has multiple accounts. We'll just come back and talk to him. But they need to say that to him. And at that point then, when you've done everything you could, at that point, you try. And at that point then, he goes broke, giving all this money to this individual that he has to learn the hard way. Because there's only so much you can do to help your friends or loved ones that are fucking up. Okay, you can try to give them information, try to talk to them, everything like that. That doesn't work, then, well, you try. And then move on, he learns the hard way. And then years from now, Everybody will be poking jokes at the dinner table over Thanksgiving about how young whatever his name is used to send all that money to that pretend girl from the Philippines. And you know what? He has to learn the hard way, because there's some people you just can't reach. So try, and this goes for any other you guys in a situation. You try first, you try listening, you try explaining in a nice way. That doesn't work, then unleash hell, and it's their own fucking problem, because you can't save everybody, okay? And this story here, you may not save him, but this story about me doing this, by you writing in, may save somebody else that watches this and learns and all that. So good will come from this one way or another. So I wish you luck. Let me know how it works out with him. And if he doesn't want to hear it, that's on him. But make sure you get your freaking $300 back. Or maybe that was the other person that gave $300, but get your freaking money back. He needs to learn there's accountability. There's consequences to his actions. He borrowed that money from you, and I'm sure he didn't tell you he wanted it to give to some pretend girl overseas. He probably said something else. Get your money back. He needs to learn a lesson. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me what you think about this. Let me know. Let this guy know what you think, what you should do, how you should handle it, all that. Also, let's hear in the comment section, have you guys ever had anybody try to proposition you for money that claimed to be a woman, a pretty woman, and all that? Let's hear about that, because by you writing this out in the comment section, some guys may read this and not fall prey to this type of thing one day. So you'll definitely do it. Take you a minute, 2 minutes, tell your story. That's it. It'll be helpful. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.